What was that?
I was stretching. Stretching for the long 3-hour run today.
Okay, all right.
Oh, here we go. Okay, it is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 6 minutes after the hour, 1-800-STEPH-12, that phone number, toll free from anywhere. What did I say yesterday?
What?
I barked at Travis as I do. Get me Lisa Bloom! And what did he do?
He got Lisa Bloom.
Yes, he did. Legal analyst.
She's not an animus.
She's not an animus. She's a lawyer.
Yes.
Anyway, but I've been seeing her all over the TV on the Ferguson case because I read this long Newsweek piece, and I still can't figure out whose story is what now.
Yeah, the right wing is putting out there that the cop now has a broken eye socket because of the struggle.
And then there's also claims that I'm reading just this morning that there's video showing him uninjured, and yeah. Can I just say I find it suspect? Somebody calling Dana Loesch's show that claims to be a friend of the officer, and this is the official story now.
That's the most suspect thing, because as you and I and Travis know, you cannot vet someone that carefully before putting them on the air.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm not actually sure what's on the record. And somebody made a good point this morning. We'll ask Lisa about. They're like, a grand jury is not supposed to be. That's for the prosecutor to make their case. Yeah. It's not this. So the fact that even the officer is testifying, that's not normally when a defense is put on. So it's very it's curious.
Curious that.
Many things. Curious developments. All right. And healthcare expert Jackie Schechner of general hotness and smartness.
And she'll be wearing short shorts.
Yes, live in hour number 3.
Because she's still single.
Yes, she is. And it's magic. All right, so lots on the big show. Look who's right here out of the box.
Whoa.
Yeah. Carl. Carl Frisch. WholeFightStrategies.com. Good morning, Carl Frisch.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I am fantastic.
Yes, what's not to... I was talking to my friend yesterday. It's like, what's not to be fantastic about? Such good news everywhere around the world.
Well, if you put your blinders on, you can enjoy life.
Yeah, Carlos Alzraki, who escapes from Vagina Island, has 2 kids, and he's like, I advise him just put a tape of Frozen on every TV.
And that's better.
Yes, better now. Looking at your tweets, the only, we have little slivers of entertainment, like Rick Perry's indictment, and you said, wouldn't it be great if...
That's not magical. I mean, how many angels got their wings for that?
Right.
A lot. You said, wouldn't it be great if the longest-serving governor in Texas history became the longest-serving governor in Texas history? # Orange is the new Perry.
Right.
Yes, and I choose to believe happy clappy news, as you know, but Eric Bollard, and then there was another piece on HuffPost that was entitled "Why Rick Perry Will Be Convicted," that going against the sort of conventional wisdom, I guess, or the Beltway wisdom that this is nothing and this is political.
Well, I think he certainly has a shot at it. The only base of power that the left has in Texas really is that prosecutor's office in Austin, and they've used it effectively to look at corruption and look for instances of government overreach out of politicians in the State House. And they've found one here. I don't think anybody in their right mind would assume that Perry has never done anything wrong. And, from the sounds of this, this sounds like a perfectly reasonable case.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're saying is it's not about what people are saying. It's about it. They were saying there's been 2 other DUI arrests. They were both Republicans. He didn't ask them to step down.
Right.
It's, I guess, because, she obviously controls an office that has to do with corruption. I'm just saying I think there might be more there than people are initially saying.
I think there is. And if I was a conservative, I'd be talking about conspiracy theories like, was that really Rick Perry in the mugshot? Where's his glasses?
Yes, you said, behold Governor Perry's mugshot. Guess he wasn't allowed to wear his Rick Perry 2.0 glasses. Yes. The look at how smart I am now glasses were...
He was like, guys, I've got my tie. I've got my suit. Oh, gosh, I know I'd forget the third thing. Oops.
Apes. You also tweeted, why can't the GOP fix its demographic problems? Look no further than the way the right-wing base has reacted to Ferguson on social media. Yeah, I was saying that to Chris. It's like that's what's hard to when some of the key information, at least that we're hearing, somebody called Dana Loesch's radio show to say they're a friend of the officer, and this was his story. It's the
only way that you will ever get the conservative movement or the right in general to be sympathetic to a person of color is if that person of color identifies first as a conservative.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because that's what initially I'm like, how is this partisan? I mean, I'm first to go on record and say I don't know what happened. This is part of the problem, but obviously the unrest is because of how badly this has been handled.
Partisan. I mean, they are Republicans, and he is a black.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's how they view the world. I mean, to them, I mentioned institutional racism in a tweet, and I got a few responses back from conservatives who said, that's just what Democrats call it when they can't prove it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why they have problems with people of color.
Exactly.
Because they don't support the issues that help people of color, and because they don't know how to talk about these things without sounding like bigots. I mean, look at all the Republican officials who have been putting their feet in their mouths. Look at the lieutenant governor of Missouri who said that we had an Anglo justice system. Or that city councilman in Missouri who had to apologize for his racist Facebook post, and his excuse was, I used to be a very active Republican.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we were saying, I mean, again, there's Hannity, and reflexively, the white cop obviously must be telling the truth. I'm on record, Carl, saying I don't know. I'm not saying that I know for sure the cop's lying. Maybe he's not. It's just that we'll have Lisa Bloom on later, but she was saying it is interesting that this story gets leaked out after you've heard witnesses and there's autopsy results, and the story, at least to me on the surface, seems awfully convenient.
Well, it seems awfully convenient when they released that footage from the cigar shop, and then you find out later that he actually purchased some cigars and nobody from the shop thought he stole anything.
Well, I don't even know if that's, I'm not sure that's what, again, we'll talk to Lisa more about. I'm not even sure what facts are in evidence, because I'm not sure that's been proven.
Yeah, the video is a little bit murky, and you can draw that conclusion from it, but, you don't know exactly what happened because there's no audio.
You guys, I have a friend who called me.
Yes,
They're friends with somebody.
Right.
Who
texted someone.
And they told me that everything's going to be fine because Ferguson has hired an all-white PR firm.
Yes. How about that?
Yeah.
Did you hear about that stuff?
Oh, right. Well, because you said they didn't realize because Olivia Pope's just on TV. Otherwise, she's fictional. Otherwise, they would.
We get Olivia Pope on this situation.
Right.
And they looked and found out it was television. But they did hire Common Ground PR, which when you go to their website is all preppy white people. And I was joking that Common Ground PR was hiring another all-white PR firm to defend it from the media controversy over its all-whitedness.
Yeah. Well, again, as I was saying, I'm certainly not anti-police, and that's the thing is you don't.
My father was a sheriff for 35 years.
Right, and they have a dangerous job, and you don't know the specifics, but I'm just saying, the whole he went for my gun thing, and then the story that was called into the Dana Lowe show was that. Oh, he charged at him, which, first of all, seems a little counterintuitive to most of us. If you're unarmed, you don't charge at a cop that's firing at you, but maybe.
About why cops sometimes do things that they shouldn't. They are overworked and underpaid, and they take overtime left and right, as much of it as they can get, just so that they can have a better life for their families. My father, when he retired after 35 years at the LA County Sheriff's Department, had 2 years of sick time and vacation time that he did not take over 35 years.
Wow.
And that's the mentality that is bred among the officers. So, yes, are there bad apples? Yes. But there are also a lot of tired apples in the police forces. They work their tails off. They're always on constant alert. And they don't react well when they've worked their tails off. You look at any study that looks at military or police organizations, and if the folks aren't rested, they don't react the way that they should.
Yeah. Well, and that's what obviously speculation is. Did he panic? Was it in anger? I guess this is hopefully they'll do an actual investigation where we know what facts are actually facts and not just stuff that's leaked here or there. Or,
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, in big gay news, you tell me if this. I'm not sure. Hopefully this is not bad news, but the Supreme Court obviously has halted gay marriage in Virginia.
Right.
It granted an emergency request to halt gay marriage just hours before same-sex couples were to have been legally allowed to wed today, I guess. They're saying the Supreme Court's decision was procedural. It won't affect the final decision about the merits of whether gay marriage is constitutional. The justices, of course, as we've been talking about, are supposed to take up the issue potentially as early as next year. This is Carl, the third time they've done this, issued a stay for something like this?
So when a federal court says, nope, get out of the way, there's going to be marriage equality, the only, place that anybody can go to challenge that is the Supreme Court, where they can ask for a stay until there's been final resolution. So, until appeals are exhausted, essentially.
So this wasn't entirely unexpected, was it?
No, it was completely expected.
Yeah.
In fact, it would have been shocking if they had not. It would have indicated that the court was probably going to let marriage equality happen that way.
Okay.
I think what we're seeing here is the third example of a stay being placed after a federal result, and we're likely to see either the Supreme Court take Virginia or Utah or Oklahoma marriage cases. They could combine two of them. They could combine all of them. But I think it's very likely that, and especially if that circuit, I think the Fourth Circuit that we're still waiting on might be the Sixth Circuit. If that Sixth Circuit rules against marriage equality, which is a good possibility, then I think that makes it even more likely that the Supreme Court will pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think we're all sort of nervous just given some of the other Supreme Court decisions recently, but, because I was reading the story about, how many cities and, churches and all, we're getting ready, we're getting ready and actually getting excited. And so it makes you sad in that sense that a lot of people that have waited decades were thinking today was the day, right?
Well, I mean, people have waited their entire lives, and I guess that's what is interesting about these stays, really. The courts are basically saying that, there's nothing pressing, we can put a stay in, but these cases are not about, gay rights or about pushing some gay agenda. This is about people, couples who have been together for decades, couples who have been together for years in relationships that are subject to a different class of law than other people in this country, and that's wrong. And every day that children with gay parents or a gay couple are denied the same basic rights and freedoms as any other couple is not a good day. It's not a day where everybody's treated equally under the law. So
you're saying that the gays are not causing Ebola and unrest in the Middle East?
I didn't go that far. I mean, even if they were. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was under the impression that we could only control the weather.
Okay, exactly. Superpowers are limited. All right. Well, we will obviously be checking back in as this thing moves along, but, maybe it's better if it's closer to an actual national, right to marry, right?
Well, I think what's interesting is that we will definitely know, and this is what's strange, we will know in less than a year whether or not marriage equality is going to be nationwide, because the court will have announced all of its decisions from the 2014-15 term by the end of June 2015.
Who will be most relieved is Rob and Michelle Reiner, because they're tired of me calling them, going, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?"
You know what? I bet
I am the kid in the marriage equality vaccine.
Those checks, I tell you what, they are two of the biggest supporters of marriage equality in this country.
I know.
Financially and with their time, and I'm sure they would like a little vacation so they can just enjoy the weddings instead of fighting for them.
There you go. Exactly. Carl, great stuff. See you next week, honey.
Have a good one.
All right, there he goes, Carl Fish, who is exciting and new.
No.
I think he is.
The Love Boat is exciting and new.
Okay.
Carl Frisch is not.
Whatever. 19 minutes.
It's just exciting.
To me, it's new every week to me. 19 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. This is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 24 minutes after the hour. One of our listeners tweets.
Oh, God. You know what?
You lost
moved.
it?
It moved.
All
Hold
right.
on.
We the very...
Okay. Dwight Wiggins says, I'm predicting that John McCain will be on Meet the Press Sunday to attack President Obama for not bombing Ferguson.
Right. Why hasn't he done that yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Randy in Alabama, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Randy.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Go ahead.
My question has to do with Officer Wilson. What evidence do we have that Officer Wilson acted with racial motivation?
Well, we don't. We don't specifically yet.
The most flagrant racism in this whole situation is projecting that motivation onto Mr. Wilson just because he's white.
Didn't project that.
If he was black, if he was a black officer, would we be having this conversation?
No, but there is are you unaware that there's a fairly large, statistical body of young black men being shot?
Of course there is. But
and also there's...
First off,
There's the context
by police.
There's the context of history in that same town. The populace, which is a majority black, has been frustrated for a very long time by the almost completely white police force. The police force acts like they are fighting against the populace rather than working with the populace to fight crime.
Okay. You're saying the populace, are the police fighting the populace, or are they fighting the criminals? And what's the criminal makeup?
The populace feels like the police are fighting them. The populace feels like the police are fighting them.
The populace does not. The criminals.
No, the populace do.
Okay. And where did you get that information?
Lots and lots of interviews with the populace of Ferguson. Lots and lots. Randy.
Okay. Let me ask one more question.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so you don't want to respond to.
I would love to. What's the question?
Randy, what? Okay. Let's just say this was your son that was unarmed and was shot dead. He was shot 6 times by a police officer. Would you have some questions about why that happened?
Of course I'd have questions, but I wouldn't be rioting and looting in the street.
The population of Ferguson is frustrated. This was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Where did you get that information?
All right.
Apparently he doesn't watch coverage, the incessant coverage of...
I have grown tired.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. Is you can't, on both sides, like, reflexively... I mean, clearly they just reflexively... Everything the white cop said must be true. Maybe it is. I'm not saying...
Let the investigations play out. In the meantime,
the problem is no one, I guess in some ways, no human is without bias. I mean, look at this Ferguson prosecutor, Robert McCullough. He said in a radio interview, despite calls for him to recuse himself in the shooting case, he plans to stay and has asked that Governor Nixon either support his decision or use his authority to remove him. What they're talking about with him is his dad was a cop who was shot and killed by a black man. And so people are questioning, can he be impartial?
I think he can.
Nixon has said he can recuse himself, but has not said he believes McCullough should. McCullough said that Nixon should stand up and man up. And let's get on with this.
Well, yeah, you don't need language like that.
Macho posturing, always good. Here he is, Robert McCullough, St. Louis County prosecutor.
I have no intention of walking away from the responsibilities, the duties that have been entrusted to me by the people of this entire community. And I understand that there's some that they don't think I'm best suited for this case. But what I'm trying to convey to them is that I've got that responsibility. I'm not walking away from it.
Let's do a quickie. Chris in Illinois, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hey, Chris.
Hey, everybody. It's great to talk to you this morning.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I think you guys are
20 seconds.
Good job. And, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to say that I think the media, especially CNN and MSNBC, are not covering things correctly. There was a new video released by a witness to the latest shooting of a 25-year-old guy with a knife, clearly showing that they did not need to shoot him. They could have tased him. They could have got in their cars. It was completely bought what the police said and didn't investigate and are not covering it at all.
All right, well, we will update at least, all the latest we have. 29 minutes after the hour, Stephanie Miller Show. Printing frenzy.
Apparently.
I just like that broadcast news feel of people handing me important papers right before I go on the air.
This just in.
It makes me feel important. 34 minutes, exactly. This just in. All of this.
That's a lot of paper.
Right, okay.
You can't just read that off the internet?
No. All right. Paul wrote, and we will ask, again, Lisa Bloom on in less than an hour, said, I think, I'm not sure which show I saw this on, might have been Ed's, but talked about how unusual it is for the defendant to appear before the grand jury. The point was made, the grand jury is time for the prosecutor alone to present the case normally to rule on whether to go forward or not, whether there's enough evidence. It's not time for the defense to present a case.
Okay.
And yet here we are. Anyway, so we'll ask what that means or not.
Woefully unaware of what exactly goes on in a grand jury.
Well, they hear it, but I think he is generally correct.
That's just one of those things I just never,
to see if there's enough,
gotcha.
to go forward for an indictment or to a case.
Okay, because I've sat on a regular jury, but a regular jury is nothing like a grand jury.
Well, I'm obviously an expert because people hand me important papers. Right before I go on the air.
Okay. I'd like to know if any of our listeners have ever sat on a grand jury. That would be kind of cool to learn about.
I have new data. I have new data that's just handed to me from who knows where. Well, I mean, I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, but, they haven't had hard numbers.
Right.
Police are rarely arrested for killings on the job.
Yeah.
And again, like I've said, Chris, I'm not saying it isn't a really dangerous job, and police don't probably generally deserve the benefit of the doubt. But, this, I think, is not a surprise to anybody. New research data offer the most striking evidence of how rare it is for police officers to be charged for homicides committed in the line of duty. There were 31 arrests of non-federal sworn law enforcement officers for murder or non-negligent homicide committed with a firearm while on duty from 2005 to 2011. That equals a little more than 4 per year.
Yeah.
And an expert was saying it's really hard to convict a police officer. They get a super presumption of innocence. And maybe many of them deserve it. Obviously, there's some that probably don't and abuse that. So that's. It seems that the folks appreciate that Eric Holder came to Ferguson. He met with college students as well. And he talked to them about the unrest, about their own interaction with police. He told the group that change is coming, which I'm sure Rush Limbaugh has some thoughts on that later, because it probably means that is, well, Rude Pundit already wrote some really rude stuff, some things Rush Limbaugh said.
Yeah.
It's all, apparently this Ferguson thing, it's all a plot by, the black people, meaning the president, Eric Holder.
Yeah.
To take over the country and kill all the white people, something. I don't know. He was sketchy on the details.
I'm sure that's what our caller from Alabama thinks.
Right, exactly. Okay, Eric Holder.
Hope also is that through the trip that I'm making out here today, that hopefully will have a calming influence on the area.
And it kind of did. There were only four arrests last night as opposed to 23 the night before. So,
Calmer, you were able to differentiate whether you were watching Gaza or...
yes. Yes. There was also a thunderstorm in Ferguson last night, so that kind of tamped things down a little bit. Yeah.
Let's go to Mike in Chicago. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Steph. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
That's something I just wanted to talk about was the storm last night. So between Megyn Kelly and Gretchen Carlson comes out in the morning and she said the protesters blatantly broke the law and ignored police demands by not coming out at nighttime and protesting and only coming out during the day. In turn, I had to go to her Facebook page and inform her what an idiot she was that they asked people to come out and protest during the day. They didn't demand it. So right away there's the connotation that they're breaking the law.
Well,
the First Amendment doesn't have, hours of operation.
Right, at dusk. It's not like a park.
Yeah.
It closes at dusk. Right.
Exactly.
Well, and as a lot of people have pointed out, a lot of people have jobs, right.
Yeah, and then Megyn Kelly at nighttime, she, this is about 5 to 12, she comes out, she says that all the protesters, the angry protesters, of course she had to add the adjective in there, the angry protesters are marching in the streets again and causing disruption for the police. And so I had to go to her Facebook page and say, hey, dingbat, if you were watching MSNBC, maybe you'd see that there's a thunderstorm and there's no one in the street.
Yeah.
But right away, they just add these connotations that they're angry and they're causing trouble, and there's nothing going on.
Right. And, Mike, I watched a lot of Fox News yesterday, and pretty much the only black people that Fox News talked to were, the angry black people. Well, they were trying to steer the narrative there.
Yeah. Somebody on my Twitter feed said, where does Fox News get those two Black Panther dudes for every story? Are they in the green room just waiting?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. I know. You wonder, is it labeled like that in the Fox vault, Chris? Angry, scary black dude footage.
Oh, I'm sure.
Giant magic marker. All right, call up the angry, scary black dude footage. It's the same two guys.
It is. Yeah.
Maybe they do. I bet you they make a nice paycheck. They're in the Fox
clubs
green room.
Against the palm of their hand. It's that same footage.
They probably normally look like Urkel, and then they're like, time to play angry, scary black guy. Oh, boy. Wow. Speaking of, can I have some conspiracy sausage music? I did not hear this. Rude Pundit brings us this. He was talking to a caller. This is what he said. This is the Democrat Party, folks. The President of the United States is in charge of what's happened here. Meaning in Ferguson, he's causing. When he's not causing Ebola and beheadings and stuff, he's.
Right.
I think it's time for everybody to come to grips with this simple reality.
I don't care what scandal you name, Benghazi, Fast and Furious, take your pick, IRS. Has anyone involved in any of these scandals been fired? Not a single person.
I'm not sure how that connects to Ferguson, but...
Yeah.
Okay.
This is about wiping out the Republican Party. This is about wiping out the Libertarians. This is about wiping out anybody who opposes Obama. Every bit of this. This isn't Al Sharpton. It isn't Jesse Jackson. They're just tag-alongs now. This is Obama and Holder. But all of this is Barack Obama. Every event, every detail, every occurrence is Obama. And the end result is the end and absence of any opposition. So that's what Ferguson's all about, like all the rest of this has been about. Wow.
Wait, there's more.
Oh, okay.
By the way, that's just not Obama. That's been the left. They are power mad. They're status. You think there was opposition to the Soviet Union? You think Mao Zedong had opposition to Gang of Eight? What happened to them, including Madam Mao? Slit throat. Adios. See you. Sayonara. I mean, they don't put up with it. Okay. So, that's...
Oh, presidents. Wait, there's one more, because it's even more devious than that, ladies and gentlemen, according to Rush. Yes.
How do you get away with that when everybody's looking? Well, you go on vacation all the time.
See? See how sneaky the black guy is?
So that's how George W. Bush got away with everything.
You act like you're opposed to what's going on. You act like you don't even care. Obama's front and center, pulling every string, directing every movement of this administration. He's calling every shot. And remember, a lot of them he doesn't even have to verbalize.
Oh, I see. Little, like, Carol Burnett, something like that. He just like, oh, time for some Ebola, or like, time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee. Maybe it's something, I don't know what it's nonverbal.
No, yeah.
He just, maybe there's a sign.
The same, it's
where
the
he
Chris
cues the
Christie
rioting.
sign.
He cues the rioting, or the, Ebola, or whatever's happening. That he, wow. That's what that diet of, what it is, cognac, cigar smoke, Oxycontin, I don't know, floating all around up in there. Okay. Kelly in St. Paul, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Hey, guys, the one thing that it seems to forget here in this whole thing is that this was a young man who was how far away from the police car when he was shot? He was shot 6 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he had no gun. It doesn't matter who the police officer was, white, black, Hispanic, whatever. It matters that the bare facts are he was shot 6 times, even if for some reason there were cigars that they saw that were hanging out of his pocket, and the police officer knew that there was a strong-arm thing, whatever, they wanted to throw at you. It matters that there was a person, a human being, who was shot 6 different times.
Right, and the law is you're not allowed to shoot a fleeing suspect. I mean, that's...
Exactly.
And shoplifting does not warrant execution without a trial.
Exactly, Chris, exactly. So I don't know, guys. All I want to say is that there were a ton of people down on Calvin Bundy's ranch who had high-powered rifles that were pointed at federal agents.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the call, honey. I'm just saying, the Dana Loesch caller, who I'm sure is the most... Yeah,
if you listen to Dana Loesch, I don't know if you have all your marbles.
I mean, or
maybe
this is what happened, but it's it just is awfully convenient to, every legal point that would make you be able to go, oh, it was self-defense. I mean, it's sort of the classic, oh, he went for my gun. But, okay, you tell me what you think. A friend of the officer called into a radio show to tell the story.
Completely unvetted.
A source confirmed to CNN it matched the version of events Wilson gave investigators. In that version, told by the woman who identified herself as Josie, Wilson asked the 2 men to get on the sidewalk. He then heard a report of the robbery and a description of the suspects, which matched Brown and Johnson. When Wilson then tried to get out of the car, Brown pushed him back in and punched him in the face and then reached for his gun. The 2 tussled. Brown had the gun pointed at Wilson's hip, but Wilson pushed it away before it went off in the car. The 2 men then began to flee, and Wilson gave chase, ordering them to stop. Josie said in her account, Brown then turned around and began to taunt Wilson, saying he would not shoot them. That seems a lot. Really?
Okay.
Then Brown charged at Wilson full speed, at which point Wilson opened fire. Josie said all of the sudden Brown just started to bum rush him. He just started coming at him full speed, and so Wilson just started shooting, and Brown just kept coming. So Wilson really thinks Brown was on something because he kept coming. It was unbelievable. I'm not the only. Again, I'm not a legal expert, but
you're not a legal animus.
No, that. Perhaps it just seems a little implausible that you would charge at an officer that has a gun and when you're not armed.
Right.
All right. So this is from Newsweek. We'll give you the rest of the update from that in terms of what. And I don't know. Is that on record? Calling Dana Loesch saying you're a friend of the officer? I'm not really.
That's not admissible in any court of law anywhere ever.
All right, 46 minutes after the hour. What about Laura Ingrams? No?
No.
Okay.
God, she'll let anybody on.
46 minutes after the hour. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. Funny things on the Internet that don't have kitties in them. Ann Coulter took the Ice Bucket Challenge. She will not be missed. It's the witch's hat from
the right
Wizard
wing,
of Oz.
The right wing passes around the same thing that says Nancy Pelosi took the Ice Bucket Challenge. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. So I am just watching video. This is... I have to say, this case is just, it seems like it's been so mishandled from the beginning.
Yes.
But I just watched the footage on CNN of the one witness that took video afterwards. You can see Michael Brown laying there, but you can see the officer, Darren Wilson, walking around. He appears to be completely uninjured. So the right wing, or you said Drudge, is putting out that he was badly beaten or almost, beaten, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. No blood, no broken eye socket, not unconscious, not being rushed to the hospital. I mean, because that's what I'm saying. There's all these reports that he was beaten, nearly unconscious, and I'm going, wait a minute, where is that coming from? But anyway, you can see him walking around. He certainly appears to be uninjured in that video.
And Drudge did something that was really, really irresponsible. He
Drudge did?
Yes, he said he linked to a story that said that his eye socket was broken, then illustrated it with a picture of an X-ray of a broken eye socket.
That was not Darren Wilson's.
It was not Darren Wilson's,
yes.
But the implication was that it was.
Oh, boy. Okay. Stephen Moose, the idiot that called, needs to educate himself, obviously. There was an opinion piece, blah, blah, blah. 1995, the FBI reports, is talking about, he was saying, how do you know there was racism involved? That caller, blah, blah, blah. USA Today reported nearly 2 times a week in the United States a white police officer killed a black person during a 7-year period ending in 2012. According to the most recent accounts of justifiable homicide reported to the FBI. I mean, and that's the thing. Some of this is emotion, but some of it is based on, actual. Sure. This is the Newsweek case, saying how strong is the legal case against Darren Wilson? Because that's the thing, is you're going, what exactly is on record and what isn't? Because once again, as you said, some of these right-wing outfits are just putting out stuff like, Darren Wilson's friends, called Dana Loesch, or, this Drudge put up this. But anyway, so what is known, this is according to Newsweek, what is known so far, and I think we know this, Brown and his friend, Dorian Johnson, were walking down the middle of Canfield Drive when a police car pulled up near them. The officer in the car...
Which is admittedly illegal, to walk down the middle of a street.
Okay. Somebody also said, maybe this could be handled better on both sides.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, says, excuse me, guys, could you get on the street? You know what I mean? Yeah. Rather than get
instead of treating them like animals from the very get-go.
Right. So, but then it's also, the cop that wrote on HuffPost about don't challenge me if you don't want to get. That's a little too much, but at the same time,
a little too much.
Yes, of course. What I'm saying is, don't deliberately be a jerk to a cop, because you know what I mean. Like, then you're going to exacerbate the situation. I'm not saying this is justified. But
if you come at the situation with a sense of mutual respect, then it's not going to escalate.
Right. When was the last time I got a cell phone ticket a couple of years ago. Did I want to say, you pig? Sure, but I did not. I said, why, thank you, officer. My Catholic school training says, why, thank you. There certainly is no other crime that you might have had to investigate rather than me talking on the cell phone. Thank you for keeping our community safer.
I got a speeding ticket last weekend driving up to San Francisco.
And what did you say to the fine officer?
It's the only time I've ever called an elder or someone sir. I never call anybody sir.
I'm telling you, my Catholic girl thing. Hello, officer. Good morning.
I didn't get out
I
of it.
get nervous when I see a cop and I'm not doing anything. I'm just like, okay, my seatbelt's on, I'm on the phone.
I was fumbling for my registration. He said, okay, sir, you can calm down, take a deep breath. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Still got the ticket.
Oh, I got a seatbelt ticket once, too.
Okay.
And that guy was a jerk. I just want to say. Okay. Where were we? Okay. So according to the account of the St. Louis County Police, Wilson attempted to get out of his car and Brown pushed him back inside. A struggle ensued inside the car in which Brown tried to take the officer's gun. Again, this is the police's side. Apparently, a shot was fired from inside the car. The officer then stepped out of the car and shot Brown, who died of his injuries. That part, I think, even according to this, would not really be legal, I guess, except that they're saying legally, and we'll ask Lisa Blue about this, but it's he was going for my gun. Like, the minute you say that, there's your self-defense.
Right.
And it's... but an eyewitness, including Johnson, told a different version of events. According to Johnson, after Officer Wilson told him to get on the sidewalk, he slammed on his brakes, put his car in reverse, attempted to open the door. The door hit Brown and then bounced shut again. Johnson described how Wilson reached out and grabbed Brown by the neck. The altercation became like a tug of war, with Wilson trying to pull Brown inside the car and Brown pulling away. Wilson fired off a shot, which Johnson said hit Brown. The two young men began running away after another shot or more was fired. Johnson said his friend turned around with his hands raised in the air and said, "I don't have a gun, stop shooting." The officer then facing Brown fired several more shots, and Brown fell to the ground. A second eyewitness, that was the one I was just watching being interviewed on CNN, Piaget Crenshaw was her name, saw the events from her apartment and videotaped the aftermath. That's the one you were talking about.
Right.
Told CNN she saw Brown and the officer struggle, and it looked like the officer was trying to pull Brown into the car. When that didn't work, she said the officer chased after Brown and shot multiple times, though none of those shots appeared to hit Brown. In the end, Crenshaw said Brown turned around and then was shot multiple times, which the autopsy seems to back up. So stepping further, before Brown and Johnson were stopped, it seems like almost everything is disputed. Obviously, the video footage was released by the police showing the two men taking cigars from a convenience store. The Ferguson police later clarified that Wilson did not know that Brown was a suspect in the robbery when he approached the two young men walking down the middle of the street. Anyway, so then I told you the friend of Officer Johnson's that called Dana Loesch to show his, that whole story. And again, as Lisa was saying on TV, and we'll talk to her about this, but he's had time now to hear these witnesses and see them on TV and the autopsy results, and I'm like going, that story seemed awfully convenient of covering all the bases as to how, anyway. So, all right, much more on this. Lisa Bloom coming up. Jackie Scheckner, hour number 3, 58 minutes after the hour. It's the Stephanie Miller Show. Stephanie Miller Show, welcome to it. 6 minutes after the hour. Jackie Scheckner coming up, hour number 3, healthcare expert extraordinaire. StephanieMiller.com, the website. Oh, Mark in Albuquerque. Hey, Steph, so I'm in Hawaii, Maui, on my honeymoon with my husband of 9 months. This is what I see in the ABC store in Kihei, and I think of you. Big gay honeymoon ruined by thoughts of Stephanie Miller. Who knew there was such a thing? It is actually Filthy Beaver soap. It's a soap with a beaver on it, right there.
And the beaver is ostensibly filthy.
Wow. Yeah, who knew there was such a thing existed? But I got to get me some of that. Thank you, Mark. Sorry I ruined your honeymoon. I don't know about you. I think we need a little beaver stack, a little more fart jokes. There's too much bad news going on, don't you think?
Yeah, we need some more beaver stack.
All right. You know what
Come
else?
on, beavers, make some news.
You know what we need? We need a my hot running mate from Goldwater Miller 2008. Family name, no skills, just like W. Here she is, Cece Goldwater. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
You're at the airport, jet setting from somewhere.
I am. I'm at Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard? Did you see?
I was here with, hanging out with Ross and Michelle, and they wanted me everywhere.
Right. Golfing with POTUS. Yeah.
So I was sick of socializing with those people there.
What is your take on Golfgate? I guess Joe Scarborough said it was good that the president was photographed playing golf because it shows ISIS that he doesn't care.
Yeah, I think it only showed him from the waist down, didn't it?
I don't. It's so ridiculous. Like, when somebody made this point the other day that, the Bushes and who's the last, whoever, they had vacation houses, like, that they could go to. And, it's obviously on record that they took a lot more vacation days than President Obama has. I never understand why this is such a big issue. Do you?
Right. No, I don't understand it. But you remember when your dad and my grandfather were heavily into this, they would go to countries and they would be given gifts from like the Shah of Iran and all this different stuff, and that was never an issue. They'd take it home and let us all play with it.
Right. Oh, yeah. My bedroom is lousy with gifts from the Shah of Iran. What?
Yeah, it was just kind of those things where you could just really, politics were different back then. Now it's a different whole set of things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, like I say, there is just, it is nonstop, like, bad news, right? And you don't even know what, I mean, when you don't literally, like we keep saying, know whether you're watching Gaza or Mosul or Ferguson, Missouri.
Right. I think I'm watching the ice bucket things these days.
That's mostly what you're,
That's all my news feed is covered with.
Vacation's been watching the ice buckets. I think it's the only positive thing I can get out of it.
Yeah.
Chris is just
the whole stuff that the country's going mad, the world's going mad.
Yeah. Maybe it's distractions, that and cat videos. That's all we have now. People pouring ice water.
I know.
People pouring ice water on cats.
There you go. There's the next one. Hey, sweetest, we're having a hard time hearing you. So we're gonna.
I know.
We're gonna.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm at the airport. I'm in a holding tank right now. So go on with the show, and I'll be there next Thursday.
All right, sweetie. Love you. Talk to you soon. There she goes.
Yay,
all right. She's
thanks.
too jet-setty for us. I can't hear her. Grandma can't hear much anyway.
I can't imagine the cell phone coverage on Martha's Vineyard is all that good.
All right.
Maybe only 3 bars.
Yeah. All right, so I wanted to finish up this Newsweek analysis, and we talked to Lisa Bloom coming up in about 20 minutes. But, the Newsweek analysis, they're saying, what if Brown did assault Wilson and try to take his gun before fleeing? The account put forward by the St. Louis County Police, would that make him a dangerous fleeing felon? It's conceivable there might be determination that Mr. Brown had committed an assault that was equivalent to a felony against a police officer that could be viewed legally as justification for the use of force, in this instance deadly force. But assuming Brown didn't charge at Wilson, as his friend recounted, other legal experts say that argument would be shaky at best. Assuming that Brown breaks away from the police officer in a police car and is not armed and at some distance away from him, not presenting any immediate threat to the officer or anybody else, it's plainly illegal to shoot him. Interesting. One expert said if you're a police officer and I walk up and punch you in the nose and turn around and run away, you can't pull out your Glock and shoot me in the back. You just can't. The law insists on far more restraint than that from police officers. Generally, the law requires more than an altercation to justify the use of deadly force against someone who's fleeing the police, like assaulting an officer with a deadly weapon or committing a crime with a deadly weapon. It would be pretty hard to think of any legal justification for the officer firing at this guy once contact is broken and the guy is moving away, according to the expert. He was a little wary of the Dana Loesch caller. Me too. Yeah. But stressed that an investigation will have to sort fact from fiction. The idea that once out of the car, the kid would then charge an obviously armed policeman seems to be less probable, but who knows? We'll see what the actual investigation entails. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
The actual investigation rather than, okay. And I think, again, Chris, you were saying that that's what started this in the first place, is it just seemed like not only was there no investigation, there's no,
incredibly shoddy police work.
Right. No information.
Right.
Captain Ron Johnson, Missouri Highway Patrol yesterday.
I think our community is turning against the criminals that are trying to project this community in a bad light.
Yeah, and as you said better last night, but it could have been the
thunderstorm Eric. People saying that Eric Holder, was there and he helped calm things down too because he listened.
Sarah in Asheville served on a grand jury and can answer all our questions. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead.
Now, Sarah, I have served on a regular jury. How is a grand jury different from a regular
grander.
Well, don't think about grand. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
What it is part of your Fifth Amendment right against malicious prosecution.
Okay.
Which is why you hear only the evidence against the person that prosecutors hope to get an indictment for.
Okay.
And so that means no cop, no district attorney can just trump up charges against you. The evidence has actually been brought before a grand jury, either federal or state. In this case, in Missouri, it would be a state one.
Sarah, but what I think the question somebody raised is, did normally you put on a defense for that, or is it just the prosecutor?
No, there is no. You hear only the evidence against, and so that is, and the burden of proof is less as well. It is not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
It is just that you vote.
Right.
That it is likely this crime occurred. The thing that makes me so suspicious, and on our grand jury we had 23 people. You have to have a majority vote.
Right.
Okay.
That's what people are asking. Why did the cop then testify if there's not normally a defense put on?
That is suspicious to me. You do have the right if you know, but in theory, grand juries are supposed to be held in secret for two reasons. And you are sort of sworn to secrecy. I don't know if you remember the Monica Lewinsky one where somebody was leaking testimony.
Sure. Yeah.
There was a lot of leaking in that case. Mm-hmm.
One, you don't want the person who is being investigated to know that evidence is being gathered against him, to do just what it sounds like this cop wants to do.
Right.
One, or two, if the grand jury does not return an indictment, then that person's reputation is not smeared.
Right, and the other thing is that you can, he could also be acquitted later. This just, is there enough evidence to go forward, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
It is, you have the right to, if you, Stephanie Miller, did whatever, and it has to be felony level.
I didn't do it.
You did whatever. You have the right to have a jury of your peers, regular people, see the evidence against you without having a district attorney just, yank you in. You can be arrested if a cop sees you committing a crime. So most grand juries hear evidence against somebody who doesn't necessarily know that he or she is being investigated.
Ah, okay.
The other thing is that is suspicious is that the grand jury itself holds all the power. The prosecutor is technically subservient to the grand jury once it's been paneled.
Okay.
So that grand jury can choose whomever it wants to question, and a subpoena would be issued. So if, and again, it's supposed to be in secret. We're not supposed to know who the witnesses are that come before a grand jury.
Okay.
But that grand jury itself, and I felt like writing them an open letter, because they can interview they can ask to see whoever they want, the Piaget woman, the people that the police supposedly have not investigated. And then you do have a right, if you know you're being investigated, to go and tell your story. So this cop does have the right to do that, and clearly he wants to do that.
Right.
Well, and this has gotten so inflamed, Sarah. I was saying it seems even racially and politically. It's like on the right there seems to be this reflexive. Oh, they're black. They must be lying. They must be trying to. But I'm trying to be fair, at least on our side, not say the white cop's definitely lying. That's what you try to do when you're on a grand jury, right? Is you try to separate like what it just
right, and you do the jury itself does all of the questioning. Well, it can go both ways. The prosecutor or it's in this case, I guess it will be I don't know if it'll be an attorney general or a district attorney.
Right.
Lead the grand jury, but the grand jury itself can ask any question it wants, and that's what we did. I mean, I served in a state where the length of service for the grand jury, we didn't hear just one case. It was 4 months, the first full week of every month.
Now
it was 4 weeks total, and you heard every felony crime that happened.
Right. It sounds like a grand jury, I don't know, is a little more. They're more of a professional jury than a normal jury, because a normal jury you just pull people off the street. I mean.
You didn't even, and it does vary from state to state, but no, we just got called and there were no questioning. When your name got called, you were on.
Wow. All right.
Like 200 of us showed up. We were called, and the first 23 names drawn out of the hat. And again, it varies from state to state. This was in the state of Maine.
Sure.
The first name, and so then you were on. So there is a lower standard. You weren't asked, do you have any reason? Then again, you don't know what cases.
Has anyone ever tried to actually indict a ham sandwich just to make a point?
That is the joke. See, and that is the other thing that's suspicious is prosecutors don't generally bring a case to the grand jury unless they know full well they're going to get an indictment. But no, my grand jury actually did 2 no bills. That's what they're called. We didn't indict 2 things that.
Yeah.
And it shocked everybody.
All right. Well, thank you.
Most people who serve on grand juries don't know how much power they hold.
Wow.
Because they just,
Because they just showed up for jury duty.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, thank you for that.
That's
it's
fascinating.
Info.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
What?
There's so much bad news, so little time to cover it all.
Lots
of earthquakes in Oklahoma.
Yeah, there was a 4-point-something earthquake in Oklahoma.
Right? What could that be about, I wonder?
Mike wrote that because he was woken up yesterday morning by an earthquake.
Yes, okay.
Because he lives in Oklahoma.
Thanks, Koch brothers. Okay, 19 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. The Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it, 24 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Attorney Lisa Bloom coming up at the bottom of the hour.
Civil rights attorney Lisa Bloom.
Right? Mm-hmm. Jen in Ohio, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Steph.
Hi.
I'm calling in regards to that caller earlier who was talking about the police fighting the criminals in Ferguson rather than the populace. And I just believe that his mentality is a large part of the problem. I have a son who's 26 years old. He's a very big, brown-skinned young man with a college degree, a young child, no police record. But at least twice a month he's pulled over by the local police department. Not that he's breaking the law, but in the summertime he drives a fancy car with fancy rims, so I guess they assume that he's a criminal or he's up to no good because and we realize what's going on because in the wintertime when he's driving his old junker, it doesn't happen as often. So,
well, Jen, and that's the other thing that's been, I've seen out there a lot about how big Michael Brown was. It's like, okay, your point is what? I mean, nobody said he was a toddler, but he's right. He's an 18-year-old black. They were saying, oh, well, look at how big he is. He was really just his size is threatening. Well, okay, guess what? We don't give you the death penalty for that either in this country.
Absolutely. And I just want people to just stop for a minute because until you walk, Stephanie, I get up every morning and I pray to God that my son makes it through the day without being shot by a police officer.
Yeah. Listen, I understand, and that's something that's shared by a lot of black parents. And it's when this guy calls and says, oh, what's your proof? It's like, well, we have some history in this country. Go read a book.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate it. Let's go to Lawrence in St. Paul. Hey, Lawrence.
You know what? I want to address this Ferguson thing on a philosophical basis, speaking from a black man's point of view. Basically, this is all President Obama's fault. And I'll tell you, I know you guys are shocked by me saying that. But actually, this is good, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because people in authority hate Obama so much, but they can't do anything about it. So sometimes their frustrations go over the limit, and you end up with kids being dead for no reason.
There's definitely been backlash. It's hard for us to know, exactly what was in this officer's mind, but I mean, I think that we have seen. I think that the stuff that is directed directly at the president, it has been pretty racist in many quarters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was all uppity by winning all those votes and stuff.
Well,
all the president and he's doing.
That is uppity. Come on, admit it.
Ken in Beaver River. Hi, Ken in Beaver River.
Hi, the beavers are flowing up here. Hey.
Do you have dirty beavers?
Dirty beaver.
All right, stop it. Go ahead. What was your point? Don't encourage him.
Go ahead. Oh, I want to comment just briefly. The gentleman that we've been talking about, when you mentioned institutional racism, and of course he came back with this nice snappy thing, well, that's what all you lefties say when you can't prove it. And I thought of an equally snappy comeback, and that's what you righties say when you want to approve it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other thing, Rush Limbaugh, he's going on about the leftists and the liberals are, out to basically kill the Republican Party. After their autopsy, aren't they kind of doing that themselves?
I was going to say, I would think it would be ruled a suicide if we did an autopsy. Ripa in Memphis, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Ripa.
Hey, what's good, Stephanie? How you doing this morning?
Good, go ahead.
Good. I've been listening to the conversation. Myself, I'm a severely progressive blogger and everything, and
awesome.
I cover issues of race and stuff like that on my website, so this police thing is nothing new. And to the brother that just called and talked about this is Obama's fault, I'm sorry, pal. Black people have been getting shot by police since the slave ships.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. The one point I wanted to add that is not ever really mentioned within media circles, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I know the grand jury is considering all the evidence and all that good stuff, but there's one simple fact that nobody is touching on, is that per the Supreme Court in the 80s, early 80s as a matter of fact, they deemed it unconstitutional for police to use deadly force at fleeing or towards fleeing.
Right, and it was based on a young black kid that was fleeing, and the cop shot him and killed him, and he had like $10 on him or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, just on that alone, there is probable cause for an arrest, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I just play one on the internet.
There you go. Good enough. Hey, we have a real one coming up. Lisa Bloom next on the Stephanie Miller Show. Close enough. All right. 34 minutes after the hour. What have I started almost every sentence with this week? Lisa Bloom says.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you throw something at us and say, book Lisa Bloom.
Get me Lisa Bloom! And now look what's happened, because my life is magic. Good morning, Lisa Bloom.
Good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good. I see you all over the TV, and I'm like, well, that sounded smart. I got to talk to her about that.
Well, that's very kind. I always love talking to you, Stephanie.
Well, and I always love mentioning your book, Suspicion Nation, the inside story of the Trayvon Martin injustice and why we continue to repeat it. What a timely tome.
Yeah, I'm sorry that the subtitle about repeating it is turning out to be true over and over and over again. I'd really like to be wrong about this.
I know. You're too the smartest girl in the class. But, you know, honestly, this has gotten so confusing, hasn't it? And the degree of sort of, like, not just whether it's racism, but partisanship on both sides, it's hard to keep track of what information. I mean, right, you have, you know, the officer's, you know, friend calling a right-wing radio show, and then that's, like, leaked out there. Well, you know, Lisa, you made an interesting point I saw on TV the other day. I mean, there's so many aspects of this, but you were saying, why didn't the officer have to make a statement right away? Because you said now he's heard, you know, all this witness testimony, autopsy results, and the story sounds suspiciously molded around that to me. What do you think?
Right. So I practice civil rights law. I have since 1986. I still do. And I can tell you, as a matter of strategy, of course, you want your witness, your defendant, not to speak out. You want to gather all of the evidence, and then behind closed doors, you can work with them to mold their story so that it's consistent with the evidence. And listen, we don't know at this point whether Officer Wilson was required to give a statement immediately after the shooting incident. I hope that he was. But he hasn't, and so we haven't heard anything publicly, and I'm concerned about that. Versus, you know, there are 5 citizens of Ferguson who immediately spoke out, 3 of them on camera, and 2 of them, you know, sort of anonymously. They used their voice, or they were covered up, or they talked to print reporters, and they were anonymous. But all of those 5 people tell a similar story of Mike Brown being chased, and at the end having his hands up when he was shot. And obviously that's an extremely important detail. Having your hands up when you're shot, I mean, that's clearly an unlawful homicide. So, you know, I don't know what exactly Officer Wilson's going to say. We know secondhand because this woman who spoke to a radio station, she said she heard the story from Darren Wilson's significant other.
Oh, boy.
Not even from him directly, but, you know, clearly he has a different story, and he says if she's to be believed that that Mike Brown was bum-rushing Officer Wilson, and that's why he shot him.
Yeah. And it seems, well, a little counterintuitive to some of us.
Yeah. Well, I'll add to that, you know, I don't know, Stephanie, if you've seen the video of the most recent shooting in St. Louis. That was just released yesterday, and I was talking about it last night on CNN. And there's a cell phone video of a shooting yesterday.
The guy with the knife.
Yeah, a guy with a knife. It must be a very small knife because you can't see it in the video. I'm not saying it's not there.
Right.
But, and his hands are down at his side, and he's walking slowly towards the police. He's known to be mentally ill, and he's killed.
Yeah.
Now, is that really necessary? You know, on Twitter, I'm having a lively debate with a lot of people about that, and they're saying, well, he's got a knife, he's going towards the police. I mean, clearly that's wrong. Clearly he shouldn't do that, but is shooting to kill our only option in these situations? I mean, what happened to non-lethal means of force? You know, what happened to tasering? What happened to rubber bullets?
Yeah.
The police couldn't get in their car and call for backup. They couldn't just fire one shot. I mean, they had to fire this barrage of bullets and kill this mentally ill man. We have a similar problem here in Los Angeles, the shooting of Ezell Ford.
Yep, who they knew to be mentally disturbed as well. I mean, there's been a lot of this, unfortunately, lately. This, you know, mentally ill woman that the cop is punching by the side of the road. I mean, you know, and again, you know, this is, I've said, you know, many times, Lisa, I'm not anti-police, but it just, there's a lot of this, unfortunately, that has, come out recently. And somebody had a question, too, by the way, about the grand jury, because you were saying about him, not knowing whether he gave a statement himself. But he testified before the grand jury, and someone was saying, isn't that unusual? Isn't that normally when the prosecutor is presenting the case, not putting on a defense?
It is unusual. And we don't know if he has already, by the way. The grand jury just started yesterday. They're going to go 1 day a week through October. My guess is he probably hasn't yet. That would probably be at the end. It is unusual. Perhaps he and his lawyer feel that he's got a strong case and they want to present it in the grand jury. I believe he'd be waiving his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination if he testifies in the grand jury, meaning that he could be called to testify at trial. Also, you give the prosecution, a lengthy narrative of what your story is if you testify at the grand jury. But certainly it's his right if he wants to do that. It's everybody's right if they want to do that. I mean, I don't want anybody to think he's getting special privileges.
Right. Lisa, so again, in terms of how this, I think this is why obviously there's a lot of emotion, how this has been mishandled from the beginning, that, the police leaked this, video of the convenience store, which, again, I'm sure gave you, flashbacks to the Trayvon Martin thing. You go, this is like trying to thug up the victim, and that was sort of selectively released. What have you heard? Because I know I've heard this, it's tough to see. They say there's video that he actually tried to, that he paid for some of them and he didn't have enough for all of them. And there seems some dispute even about that, right?
Right. So we don't know exactly what happened at the convenience store. We know that the convenience store owner did not call the police. It was the customer who called. That's significant to me. If you feel that you're robbed, I would think that you would call the police. It does appear to me that he shoplifted. I mean, we don't know for sure. The family says, yes, that looks like it's him in the video. So I'm going to go with, for now, with the narrative that he did shoplift the cigarillos from the store. Now, that is somewhat significant legally. A lot of people have said it's completely irrelevant. Initially, I thought it was completely irrelevant. But I think there is some relevance to it. I think that Officer Wilson's story is going to be, I stopped these two young men for walking in the street, and then there was a verbal altercation. Then I saw that Mike Brown had a handful of cigarillos, and I put together that he was, they call it strong-arm robbery. I think that's an overstatement. But I thought he was a strong-arm robbery suspect. He reached for my gun. He ran away. Now we have a fleeing felon, and I was entitled to shoot him. Under the law, you can shoot a violent fleeing felon. I think that's going
not
to
just fleeing. The key word there is violent. That and that's why, again, to me, it seemed a little convenient that he went for my gun, because that then legally classifies him as a violent felon. Correct?
Well, that as well as the strong-arm robbery. So in the police report, they call it a strong-arm robbery. What's a strong-arm robbery? That's taking something using physical force without a weapon. So we all know he didn't have a weapon. Did he use physical force? Well, if you look in the video of the shoplifting or the robbery, he takes the cigarillos. Let's concede for the moment that he didn't pay for all of them. All right, that's a theft. And then there's a much smaller man who tries to block his exit. And Mike Brown appears to be sort of using his physical size to menace that guy, and sort of push him back into the store, and then Mike Brown escapes. So arguably, he's using physical force to effectuate the robbery or the theft. I'm not saying necessarily that's true, but that's the argument. But the question is, what's in Officer Wilson's mind? So he wasn't there. Robbery. He hears over the police scanner strong-arm robbery.
So he did, because that story changed, too. I thought at first they said he did not know about the robbery.
So what the Ferguson police chief said was, yes, he didn't. He says he didn't say he didn't know about it. He said that wasn't the reason for the stop, that he initially stopped him for walking in the street, jaywalking, which is consistent with Dorian Johnson, the friend who says that the police officer said in a really obnoxious way, get the F out of the street, go on the sidewalk. So anyway, this is all, you and I are really piecing together the evidence because we don't have full information yet. We don't know, for example, what Officer Wilson's injuries are. It's been reported he's got injuries to his face from Mike Brown punching him. We don't know. We haven't seen that yet. Well, if that's true, that's significant.
Lisa, I was just going to say that, again, here's where we go with this partisan stuff, because this has been on the right-wing websites. I guess some right-wing blogger it says his unsourced claim that Officer Darren Wilson had an orbital blowout fracture of the eye socket. Chris was saying that Matt Drudge posted such an injury without saying this is not the officer. It's
right. It was just an example of
right. Right. And and then I just watched the video of the one witness who taped the aftermath, and you can see him walking around in the background. He certainly appears uninjured, Lisa. I mean, I don't know, but obviously no ambulance, right? No aid at the scene. So
that's true. We don't know. I mean, listen, and we don't. What's going to be very significant to me is there a Mike Brown fingerprint on Darren Wilson's gun? Did he reach for the gun? Police officers often say somebody reached for my gun. That's a very convenient thing to say because it doesn't leave any evidence if they just reached for but did not touch the gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is the argument going to be he grabbed my gun, in which case there should be a fingerprint or DNA on the gun? If there is, obviously that helps Officer Wilson. But nevertheless, a police officer still cannot shoot unless they're in imminent fear of great bodily injury themselves or another. Meaning, even after the skirmish for the gun, if that happened, Mike Brown is now running away. He's now 25, 35 feet away when he's shot. He's unarmed. So what is the justification for that shooting? It may be the fleeing felon argument.
Lisa,
again, I'm sort of speculating.
What do we gather from the multiple autopsies? Because Chris was saying the other day about you'd think that's straightforward science, right? Entry, exit wounds. But he was saying that anything can sort of, which is why I guess the family was suspicious of only having the county do an autopsy. But doesn't it seem thus far, just from what I've heard, to back up the witnesses' stories, right? That it seems like, right, that he.
Yes, I think that the autopsy is very significant, and Dr. Bodden emphasized this is preliminary. He didn't have, for example, Mike Brown's clothing, so we all have to realize that we only have a little bit right now. What's most significant to me, if anybody wants to look at those sketches that are available everywhere online, keep in mind it's a drawing of a male body with arms down, palms forward. Now, that's the way that autopsy examiners do the examination and do the sketch, but nobody actually in real life stands with their arms down, palms forward, right? That's a very unnatural way to stand.
Right.
And there's a gunshot wound on the back of the forearm, and if you stand in a normal position, that gunshot wound is now in the rear.
Right.
And that's significant because several of the witnesses say that Mike Brown was shot when he was running away. I think that particular shot the most likely was from him being shot from behind. The second most likely is with his arms up. Now, if you put your arms up, you'll see that your forearm is now facing forward, so it could be there. What the witnesses say is that he was shot from behind and then his body jerked as if he was hit. So either he was hit or just the sound of the gunshot is terrifying and you jerk, right?
Right, but then they testify he turned around and put his hands up and said, "I stopped shooting. I'm unarmed." And it seemed like it's consistent with it that he continued to fire.
Right. This is the problem. I think the bigger problem in America, much bigger than just Mike Brown, is police being trained to shoot to kill in so many situations where it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Clearly, if somebody has their arms up, but I think it's going to be a tough case if Darren Wilson shows that he was injured. If Mike Brown has a fingerprint on the gun, I still believe that as a matter of law, he cannot shoot somebody with his hands up. But I think just sort of out there in the world, people feel. I know just from talking yesterday about this mentally ill guy who was shot. So many people say, but he had a knife, Lisa, and he was advancing towards the police officer. We need to be able to make gradations and not just shoot to kill
right.
in every situation. We have to have less lethal remedies, and that's upon all of us. That's not just the individual police officer, because they're being trained to shoot to kill whenever they need to shoot, whenever they need to respond to someone.
Yeah. Great stuff. Lisa, you are just as good on the radio as you are on the TV.
Thank you so much.
You are spectacular in every way. Your mama raised you right.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right.
Absolutely.
Talk to you again real soon, Lisa. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's because her mama's Gloria already. She comes from smart lawyer girls.
Yep. And we have a link to her website up at stephaniemiller.com and up on your Facebook page.
All right. Great stuff. 48 minutes after the hour. Right back. Oh, we're getting closer and closer to Jackie Schechter.
I think I heard your dogs barking, so they may be barking at someone entering.
Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 53 minutes after the hour. False alarm. Jackie Schechter not here yet.
No.
but on her way.
Your dogs were barking at lint.
Yes, Fred was barking at lint again, protecting an Anna from lint. Good boy, Fred.
Dust bunnies can be fierce. They got teeth.
Yes. All right. So 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. The president obviously talking about this. Oh, by the way,
what?
I love news outlets warning people don't watch, don't post the beheading video, don't watch it. You don't need to warn me. There's no way in hell I would ever. I have enough trouble sleeping. Seriously, I know people, like.
The closest I came was seeing the front page of the New York Post where they showed,
the knife to his
throat, and that's as close as I needed to get.
Yeah. I
felt sorry for his parents. They watched the video.
Did they?
Because they wanted to see the last thing that their son said.
Which was about his
them.
family, anyway, the president yesterday.
They may claim out of expediency that they are at war with the United States or the West, but the fact is they terrorize their neighbors and offer them nothing but an endless slavery to their empty vision and the collapse of any definition of civilized behavior. And people like this ultimately fail.
Oh, God, let's hope so. All right, the president one more time yesterday.
Friends and allies around the world, we share a common security and a common set of values that are rooted in the opposite of what we saw yesterday. And we will continue to confront this hateful terrorism and replace it with a sense of hope and civility.
And one more.
Today, the American people will all say a prayer for those who love Jim. All of us feel the ache of his absence. All of us mourn his loss. No just God would stand for what they did yesterday and what they do every single day. ISIL has no ideology of any value to human beings. Their ideology is bankrupt.
Obviously, airstrikes continued. I fear for the second journalist that they have as well.
In that video.
U.S. officials, in fact, say military planners are weighing the possibility of sending more American forces to Iraq, mainly to provide additional security around Baghdad. They say it would be fewer than 300, but no decision's been made yet. And the other thing that was really startling is, we talked about the beheading videos. The guy was clearly British. That was,
had a British accent.
Had a British accent that was doing the beheading. David Cameron, British Prime Minister, yesterday.
We have not identified the individual responsible on the video, but from what we've seen, it looks increasingly likely that it is a British citizen. Now, this is deeply shocking.
And then, as you said, they give a very emotional press conference, James Foley's mother. Yeah, I have to say, I couldn't even watch that. Just the pictures of it were heartbreaking for me, but his mother...
proud of Jim. He was a courageous, fearless journalist, a very compassionate American. I mean, the best of America.
Wow, I don't know how she was able to hold it together, but here she is again yesterday.
He was strong, courageous, loving to the end. I mean, we just hardly recognize our little boy. I mean, he was just a hero.
And his father, John.
And from the videos, his last words were, "I wish I had more time to see my family."
I mean, is there a more horrible way to die? That's what I couldn't believe it. Every radio station I tuned to, they were like, we're not posting this, we're not going to tell you how to find it. I'm like, don't worry, I don't
want.
There's no way. How would you ever unsee that, All right, let's do a quick one here. William in Louisiana. Hello, William.
Hello, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Good, sir. How are you?
Thank you for taking my call.
Okay.
Before I get to my main point...
We have 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Yes.
Well, I just think that we have been given a short end of the stick for the last two generations because we've been taught that we are special in some way and deserve special treatment. Affirmative action, to me, is...
We meaning who?
The African-American community. I'm of mixed race. My father was a Choctaw Indian. My mother was black.
Okay.
And to me, affirmative action says that I'm not good enough to compete with everybody else.
Wow.
I'm glad I ran out of time there. Okay. Right back with Jackie Scheckner on the Stephanie Miller Show. Mike can switch his phone from just audio to video now, because why? Eye candy now. Sure, we're not used to the data. We're not worth the data yet.
Yeah, he says he switches to video because you're worth the data.
Aw, who doesn't have an unlimited plan anymore?
Rocky Mountain Mike, apparently.
Nobody gets grandfathered out of. They don't have unlimited plans anymore.
Chris and
I have an unlimited data plan.
Check into it.
I think.
By the way, Chris and I, faces for radio. Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah, we're ugly. Oh, there you go.
What's going on with my box?
There you
Why
go.
is my box turned down?
Whatever.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
He turns my box off with no notice, Jackie Schiffner.
I turn a lot of women's boxes
Yeah,
off.
I was going to say he's a gay man. It happens.
All right. Jackie Scheckner, I don't know if you've seen this. I sent this to you. All the division in the world, all the horrible, horrible things. We have found yet another way to divide on this show. Dennis says, Dear Steph, for years the raging debate in this great nation has been Ginger or Marianne. Now, thanks to you, the debate has changed to Jackie or May.
Oh.
Now there is fighting.
That's some stiff competition.
Right.
No pun intended.
When I was growing up, it was Marsha Brady or, Lori Partridge.
Oh.
I was a Lori Partridge girl.
Lori Partridge didn't strike me as a girl you could have a conversation with. She just kind of stood
Susan
there and
Day, hot.
She just kind of stood there and played the piano with like a bored look on her face.
She was cute, though.
She wasn't as bad as the little one with the tambourine. She looked totally zoned out on something. Okay. Good morning, Jackie Scheckner.
Good morning.
So much good news. Where do we start? Oh, I know. I just love the headline. Al Jazeera tells Al Gore to get bent. Not that we have any axes to grind here personally.
Not at all.
So, yes, media.
I love this story.
Al Jazeera America issued a forceful statement Wednesday dismissing Al Gore's fraud lawsuit against the purchasers of his TV network, formerly known as Current.
Yes.
Home of
where we used
Talking
to,
Liberally.
Yeah. Where we used to live.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Although you were never able to come into studio. Well,
that's not true.
A couple of times.
Sometimes we dragged her in.
We tried.
Yeah, we tried.
And then you changed your mind after a day.
No. It was technically very, very difficult for the people in the control room.
Yes. The lawsuit and statement simultaneously issued by Al Gore's celebrity trial lawyer.
Oh, come on.
Were designed to grab headlines and misleading accusations like fraud and price discount. The truth is, this is an ordinary commercial dispute of the type that courts decide all the time. The lawsuit concerns part of the $500 million. How much did we get of that? We were the number one show. Did we mention that? We were the number one show.
Yeah.
Being paid by Al Jazeera in escrow against potential current creditors. Aren't we current? Shouldn't we get some of that? If there's something in this for us, I am all for
Hard
this.
to pick a side on this one, really.
By the way, you've dealt with Al Jazeera lawyers, haven't you, Chris?
Yes, I have. Which is the reason why we had to change our theme song for a little while there.
Yeah, I think it was Fugelsang who tweeted out, like, oh, gosh, I'm so worried for both of them. You know?
Right?
I was like, I've spent a good portion of my unemployment being concerned about whether or not Al Gore's going to get his $500 million. Sorry. Was that out loud?
All right, that was a little too personal. This is for all of us. All right. Oh, it's fine. We're over it. Okay.
No residual therapy necessary.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just saying, it is hard to know like which heartbreaking story to turn to, right?
It's
just
been a rough week all
And
around.
I spent yesterday with my best friend whose dog is dying.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, Wanda's down here.
Oh, no.
It's and I was, and I just saw that Robin Williams was laid to rest. His ashes were scattered in San Francisco Bay. We were just playing this heartbreaking press conference with the James Foley's parents. And I was looking at this. Billy Crystal will deliver a tribute to Robin Williams at the Emmy Awards. How he's going to be able to do that,
I don't know.
I don't know how he's going to get through. But Monday is I've forgotten, it was the Primetime Emmys coming up, and he will host a
tribute.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about the James Foley thing because I caught the tail end of it on my way in, and you can't even wrap your brain around what those moments are like for somebody facing imminent death. Right. But, and I obviously, I wouldn't watch the video. I can't watch the video. I have no interest in watching the video. It harkens back to Daniel Pearl, of course. And, I think his parents at some point probably, it's been a couple of years now that he's been in captivity. And I think you probably have some sense of coming to terms with the fact that it may or may not end well. But to be in that moment, I don't know what happens to you in that moment, and you're facing imminent death, and you know this is going to happen.
Like that.
Right. In the most gruesome, inhumane way possible. And you are brave, and I mean, I can't even imagine what that moment would be like, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and the bravery and the strength and the composure.
And Jackie is a journalist.
And the fear in that moment.
Oh, my God. Unimaginable. But Jackie's a journalist. I was
that's
curious.
what's terrifying.
Well, I was just going to say, but in the world we live in, I've actually seen suggestions online. Just reporters put, basically like a chip in them, I guess you have in your pet or something, but you think, oh my God, is that the world we're in? But that if, you're going to report from hotspots, it's something you have to think about. Is there a way to, because apparently this was the news right yesterday that they did try to rescue them.
Yeah. And journalism, as somebody who was really passionate about being a journalist, it was something that I always wanted to do. I knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a reporter and a journalist. The industry has changed. And the nature of what we do has changed, and I've changed along the way too, certainly. But I have to say that at some point there is a tremendous amount of risk, and you have to say, is this a risk I want to take? And somebody like James Foley obviously was so committed to the cause of telling the story of the people whose stories aren't told that he was willing to do that and wanted to do that, and it's admirable and incredibly brave. And I don't know that I would have that in me to say I would like to put everything on the line to go to Syria or Libya or any of these places where you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The president said they sent special ops forces to try to rescue them, but. I know, and then we were saying, we've been saying all week, it's just so depressing. Like, you can't tell whether you're watching Gaza or Mosul or Ferguson. I mean, Chris Hayes is getting rocks thrown at him the other night on the air. I mean, it's. We asked May this because you guys have both been journalists for so long, but it's not our imagination, is it? That this is just sort of the worst.
It's starting to feel like it's falling apart on every front, and I don't know why it's happening all at the same time now, and I just don't know if everything came to a boiling point at the same time. I mean, Ferguson's a whole nother conversation because that to me it was a huge mess in what happened, and then the PR blunder on top of that, and the police could have, I think, sort of quelled this by being more forthright and more forthcoming earlier on. And now it's gotten so out of control that, I mean, we have riot gear and tanks, and I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're pointing like you're in
automatic
snipers nest pointing them at protesters.
And people marching on the street saying, "Please treat us fairly." I don't understand.
But and the one thing I forgot to ask Lisa Bloom is, in terms of police mishandling, why? I don't know if they have now, but why didn't they interview these witnesses? That seems to be what's lent the most suspicion to this whole thing.
I mean, it sounds like just
even at a traffic stop, traffic accident, you interview witnesses. I mean,
it's just incompetence all the way around. I mean, it just seems like not only did they mishandle this from an appearance sake, right? I mean, on the most superficial level, but they're procedurally, they keep messing it up over and over and over again. And
and you can say, oh, it's being tried in the media, it's unfair. Well, if you would interview the witnesses so CNN doesn't have to.
I mean, that's the scary part, is why are the police not doing their job? Why do we not have any sort I mean, it took how many days to get the name out and of the officer involved, and
now it's like we were saying, this air of partisanship about it. Chris was talking about drudge posts, that the officer had a serious eye socket
faking.
And I just watched the CNN footage of the woman that shot the after, and you can see the officer walking around. He looks completely uninjured to me, I mean, it's just once again, here we are. Is there right-wing facts and left-wing facts? I mean, somebody who claims to be talk to the officer's significant other calls Dana Loesch's radio show, and then that ends up on the news. I mean, it all seems prejudicial to me with this stuff being leaked out, right, in dribs and drabs.
Well, it's hard to say it doesn't feel totally racial. I mean, how is that? Facts are facts, right? I mean, how do you pick a side politically based on a police incident? It just doesn't seem to make sense to me, unless you're bringing some sort of racial component into play. It just seems so obvious. I mean, people say it's not about race. It is about race. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's about race. I mean, and it's a fear that that citizens of a town like, what was the makeup of Ferguson? It's like
almost 70%
black, right?
Yeah. So 98% of the police force is
white, right? I mean, so how do you say that that's not that's not racially motivated in some way, that they're not using excessive force or possibly using excessive force because there's an us and them mentality. You just build that up.
Right.
There's no representation. I mean, look, we have requirements in the news business that the newsroom has to have the makeup of the community it serves, right? I mean, at some point, you've got to be responsible for the community that you serve, and if you can't relate to the cause or the everyday, I would say the everyday experiences of the community you serve, how are you serving them?
Did you see what Don Lemon said?
No.
He said his producer, who is white, the National Guard was talking, and he wouldn't say, male or female. He didn't want to, but said to use the N-word when talking to his producer. He said, "You probably want to get out of here because you're white, and you never know what these N-words are going to do."
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, not knowing it was Don Lemon's producer, knowing it was a producer from CNN.
I mean, there is a part of me that thinks that the media is creating a bit of a circus. And I don't know how you report on it without doing that, because the nature of the media being there creates a little bit of a circus. I think that escalates in some way. But I did see, I think it was Jake Tapper who was on the other day, and he was getting pushed around. And they said, I think it was him who said, imagine what they're doing when we're not here. And I don't know how much of it is for show and how much of it is actually happening.
Right.
I don't know if the media being there makes it worse and it agitates the police more. I don't know. I don't know. Or if they've become a watchdog and their being there has made the police behave a little bit better, for lack of a better word, than they normally would, because they're still not behaving well.
Did you see all the journalists posting pictures of themselves in their gas masks? And they're just...
It's a little self-serving, yeah.
Right, but I mean, talking about journalism has changed. Like, okay, so here's our gas mask. To think that you'd have to purchase that, though, to cover a story.
Well, I've been tear gassed, and it's not pleasant. And, if you know it's coming and you can prepare for it in some way, sure. It's not a pleasant thing. It's not going to kill you. It's just not pleasant.
I know many people are curious as to the details of that story, and we'll ask Jackie when we get back. How's that for a tease? All right, 18 minutes after the hour, right back. More Jackie Scheckner, live in studio on the Stephanie Miller Show. Stay with the Al Gore story. You guys make bitter look fun.
Well,
the Al Gore Al Jazeera story.
Sometimes you Google yourself. I Google myself from time to time.
I try not to.
Oh, I do. And you just see what comes up, like what the search terms are, right? And a lot of times people will Google Jackie Scheckner fired because they want to know why I was let go from CNN. And there is no big story. I mean, there's a story behind it. I worked my butt off for 6 months and then got let go, and it was totally out of the blue. And I didn't see it coming. Nobody else saw it coming, and it wasn't based on anything. It was somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But the man who single-handedly let me go is now running Sarah Palin's network. So I'm just going to put that on my resume and cover letter, and every interview I ever have from now on, they're going to say, "Why did you get let go?" And I'll be like, "The guy who let me go is running Sarah Palin's network." That is all you need to know. That's it. Done. It used to be that his name, you could say his name and people in the industry would understand. They'd be like,
oh, that guy. Yeah.
But now I'm just going to say it's the guy running Sarah Palin's network.
Right. Right. So there. So that happened.
Yeah.
I just Googled myself, and you know how it...
what does it say? Beefcake?
No, the first one is Chris Lavoie shirtless.
Awesome. I am not Googling myself.
No,
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
The first one is Stephanie Miller dog commercial.
Oh, the dog sniffing my crotch. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we were just, you know how it is. Memories, fond memory. We were just remembering the cheery email we got about the sale of Current.
Yeah.
Good news. Good news for who?
I made a lot of money.
Good news for me. Isn't this great? And then we're all like going, wait a minute, I think this means that we're all fired? We're all fired? How is that good?
My favorite was when they came in, they came into Current, some of the Al Jazeera.
Now we're telling tales out of school.
Uh-huh. They came into Current, and we had our first informal meeting, and the woman says to me, "So what is it you do here?"
Oh, God.
Goodness. You spent a lot of time watching our network.
And then I remember they did courtesy interviews with all of us.
Yes, it was very much a courtesy.
Yeah, we had to hump out to Santa Monica or something to do. And I'm like,
on a Saturday.
They are not hiring a lesbian in a baseball cap with a Jew newscaster. Al Jazeera is not going to... Why are we doing these courtesy?
They did. They stacked them one after the other on a Saturday in Santa Monica. The guy who talked to me took a phone call in the middle of my interview. He stepped outside for 20 minutes to talk to his wife on the phone in the middle of my interview on a Saturday afternoon in Santa Monica. It just just got better and better.
All right. Yeah, I remember a lot of people were being very, I bet you that you guys, you're the number one show. They'll keep you. I'm like, they are no.
I'm a Jew. I work for a lesbian. It's not going to
No. Just here, it's not hiring me, but thank you for your vote of confidence.
That whole handoff just wasn't handled very well. It was
more of a punt. It really wasn't a handoff.
It really was.
And one of those backwards punts, you know?
I should have brought Chris Cluey in to do it. Hey! Woo! Drop kick me Jesus through the goalpost of life.
This is the most fun I've had in a while.
Right? We're just, you know what? We hope it's entertaining to other people. We're just purging.
What does bitter smell like when it comes through your pores?
I'm very bitter. I've been bitter since the 3rd grade, haven't I, Chris?
By the time I got to the 5th grade, I was very bitter.
Very bitter.
Very, very bitter. A bitter, bitter person.
Oh, speaking of which, you brought up Sarah Palin, and now I have to do Sarah Palin's stack. Speaking of bitter, oh my God, she just cannot let go of Tina Fey.
No, she can't.
Move on with your life.
I don't think she realizes how famous she got because of Tina Fey.
She has not forgotten the way Tina Fey impersonated her. And the funny thing is, do you remember the first sketch? They just used the actual transcript.
Yeah.
They didn't try to make her look bad.
No, they used her actual words.
Yes. She said, you need to at least pay for my kids' braces or something from all the money you made off of pretending that you're me. My goodness, you capitalized on that. Can't you contribute a little bit? Jeez.
She's struggling for cash.
Oh, my God. What, you're not grifting enough from your stupid channel?
$9.95 a month to listen to her spew? Come on.
And then she said, I think SNL is egotistical if they believe that was truly an effect on maybe the public debate about who should lead the country for the next 4 years. I think it was. I think it was. She said, I know they portrayed me as an idiot, and I hated that.
Someone has something stuck in her craw.
If the dunce count.
Yeah.
I think it was Colbert that did an excellent takedown of her new channel.
Hilarious.
I think you have to Google that
one. Was it Colbert or was it John
Oliver? No, I think Oliver, I'm sure, did one, but Colbert did a really good one I saw recently.
She had said in 2009, I did see that Tina Fey was named Entertainer of the Year. That's a little bit perplexing, but it also says a great deal about our society. Yes, it does, in that people think Tina Fey is really smart, really funny, and they think you're an idiot.
She did an excellent job of showing everybody just how dumb you really are.
No, she's hilarious.
Tina Fey? She's amazing.
Yes. Oh, my God. By the way, on SNL News, Horatio Sands, he said that he feels like they dropped the ball on going after the right.
Oh.
Interesting, yeah. He called out both Lauren Michaels and Jim Downey for holding back on taking on conservative politicians. He said Lauren's very concerned with being neutral, so he wants to make fun of everyone. He doesn't want the show to be this liberal bash rag. He may be a little more conservative than he lets on, and you also have Jim Downey, who's basically the Karl Rove of SNL.
Really?
Yeah, interesting. He said, I think we could definitely have been harder on the right. They deserved it, and we dropped the ball as far as getting them. Yeah, both sides are not equal. I'm just saying, in policy or in comedy.
That's the interesting part. Is if you have a party. Oh,
right back. Hard break. Right back.
Oh, sorry.
White.
Okay.
Just a nice Chenin Blanc. Okay, 34 minutes after the hour.
I don't even know what a Chenin Blanc is.
I just made that
up. It has Blanc in it. So.
Jackie Scheckner married is the second thing that comes up.
No, I am not married.
No, the answer is no.
She says no.
Sweepstakes are still open, and she is wearing short shorts
That's
today.
right. Showing off the gams.
Jackie Scheckner legs also comes up fairly quickly. Let's get a little peek before the end of the show. Come on, let's do it. All right, 1-800-STEPH1 to the phone number. Donna in California, you're on with Jackie. Hello, Donna.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was wondering if Jackie had any info. I signed up through an Anthem Silver plan through Covered California.
Mm-hmm.
They put me into an Anthem Blue Cross Silver, which was okay because it covered all my providers. Early last month, I got a rebate check from Blue Cross refunding all of my premiums, saying my policy had been canceled. We're trying to get it all worked out between Covered California and the provider. But they told me that I was going to have to meet my deductible again.
That seems very strange to me. I don't know why they would. That doesn't seem to make much sense. If you were in a plan and paying your premiums, it doesn't explain. I mean, I don't understand why they could then take away your policy and refund. That doesn't make much sense.
I have no idea. We spent an hour and a half with the provider and covered California and thought we had it all worked out. But the guy told me last week there were still 2 trays coming from California, covered California. And if mine wasn't in last week's tray, I was going to have to take me back, but I was going to have to meet my deductible again. Well, it wasn't in last week's tray. And Jackie, I had my application, all my stuff in early December.
Yeah, this sounds like an insurance company issue. I would certainly, certainly stay on top of it. Unfortunately, and I've got to put together some resources, I think, because this happens a lot. A lot of people will call me with questions, and they're very specific, and they're clearly anomalies.
Right.
When you have enough anomalies, it becomes the norm. But these are the kind of situations you have to stay on top of, and just to turn it back around and just say that I'm personally going through something like this, that I just realized I had an issue that I complained about on Twitter back in April, and it got enough attention that Blue Shield came to me and said, okay, how can we help personally? And they gave me like a personal attendant.
How can we help person with a lot of Twitter followers?
Well, that's what it is. It's like the squeaky tweet gets the grease, is what I always say. And so I thought we had it resolved, and I went back in yesterday to look at the claims, and I realized I never received a check from them. It never got processed. It never went anywhere. And I reached out yesterday and said, I don't think this ever went anywhere. And the woman's like, that's disturbing. Let me get a supervisor to you right away. And I never heard from anybody. And it's like, you just have to stay on top of it, because it's the way the insurance companies have always been. They'll intentionally put you into a phone tree so that you don't actually get to somebody. You got to escalate to 17 supervisors because they're hoping that you'll give up and pay. That's their business model. They'll intentionally hope that you'll give up and stop trying and just pay the money. So it sounds like Donna's got a real kind of conundrum here, and it's something that she's going to have to stay on top of.
Somebody on my Twitter feed last week said calling insurance companies bastards is an insult to bastards.
It's awful. The business model is atrocious. They make money off of people's pain and suffering. They have to legally have to make as much money as humanly possible for their shareholders. It's not about your health and wellness. And if they can complicate things to circumvent the law in some way, or to maximize their profits by wasting your time and your energy, they're going to do it.
Would you say Tom Brokaw would say that these things are more anomalies or technical difficulties?
or glitches.
Or glitches, technically. Jackie, Ebola's back. That's what I said. Somebody quoted me yesterday. I'm like, when Ebola's your good news story, it's a really bad thing. U.S. hospitals have had 68 Ebola scares, according to the CDC. You heard this, I'm sure. 58 cases deemed false alarms, but blood samples for the remaining 10 were sent to the CDC. 7 came back negative for the virus. 3
outstanding.
3 are pending. But this is pretty terrifying. It looks like Dr. Brantley is recovering. Good.
It looks like he's either been released or will soon be released from the hospital. So that's good.
You know what, though? At least people are getting checked out. I know there's a tremendous amount of false alarms, and people are panicking over something that they don't necessarily need to panic about. But at least people are getting checked, because the problem where it starts is that people are afraid to bring their loved ones to hospitals or clinics, or to bury them properly once, unfortunately, they'll succumb. So at least we've got people who are concerned and attentive. I would imagine it helps to stop the spread.
Charlie Pierce wrote this week, that he feels like it's time for the world to step up, because he said this is a catastrophe that's turning into a Holocaust in Africa, and it will reach our shores. If you heard this latest thing of them, they think it's a hoax, and so letting Ebola patients out, and then they found the Ebola patients, right? But some of they've obviously, Andy was saying it's the combination of poverty and disease that is.
And how do you send aid workers to an area where they could possibly contract Ebola because there's not enough precautions in place to protect the caregivers? It's terrifying. It's absolutely scary.
And God bless the aid workers who are going in now and staying there.
Yeah. It makes you feel like a lesser human, I have to say.
No, I know. One of these
really does.
I ain't going in.
I could be doing more. Yeah.
One of the scares was a gal that had just come back from Sierra Leone and had symptoms, and I was like, no, Sierra Leone. No, wouldn't be going in. But thank God it was again a scare. But let's see, Pat in Illinois, you're on with Jackie. Hi, Pat.
Hi. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
I have a question for Jackie about the Affordable Care Act. I work for I work for a school district as a bus driver in a suburb of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told when we went back to work this week that some of our hours were being changed around so that we kept our hours below a certain number each week. And the reason was because of Obamacare. To which one of my fellow coworkers mumbled under his breath that blankety blank Obamacare.
Yeah, not true.
Yes,
It's not true.
Yes. Douchey boss story. Yet another douchey boss story.
Yeah,
All right.
that's your boss's fault.
Yeah, it's not. If your boss chooses to reduce your hours to save money, it has nothing to do with the Affordable Care Act. And really what it is, and people need to understand, when we talk about an employer mandate, first of all, if it's a government job, that would be a whole other set of benefits. Right.
Exactly.
And then if it's, I assume it was a state job or a county job or however that works.
Unless they're contract.
And then you have some sort of contract stipulation that says that you can't have your hours. But, these are the kinds of stories where I need more detail in order to dig into what's happening. But the chances are, if your hours are being cut back because your boss is trying to save money, it's your boss trying to save money. It
The
has
basic
nothing to do.
moral of the story, and what do we learn every week, Chris? There are douchey bosses, and there are really wonderful bosses that are not required to pay 100% of your insurance, but do out of the kindness of their heart, despite not getting a 1 shekel from the sale of current television, too. Let's bring that back full circle.
I can see that.
Pam in New Hampshire, you're on with Jackie. Hi, Pam.
Hi. I just wanted to bring up the fact that normally if you're with someone that, quote, commits a robbery, and then a cop gets assaulted, and then someone gets killed in the procession of all that, that person is charged. Now, if they're walking down the street and they're not running away, something is really fishy because they didn't even talk to this kid that was with them.
Right, not to even interview him. Right.
Not even to interview him. And it just seems really weird because I saw the same video you did, and he looked fine to me.
Yeah.
So, and just pray for the family. I'm telling you, New Hampshire is just really, really down. I never saw Jean Shaheen cry in my life. And the parents are about a half hour away from me, and it is really sad. So just please pray for the family.
We will, honey. All right, thank you.
Oh, is she talking about Foley's family or whose family?
I thought she was referring to the Browns. No?
New Hampshire.
She's talking about the Ferguson.
Who's from New Hampshire?
I'm not sure. I assumed she was talking because she was talking about the Ferguson case. So I don't know.
But
Jean in Minneapolis. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Jean.
Hi there. As the official psychologist of the Stephanie Miller Show,
hello.
I am calling to speak to the man who was on just before Jackie came on. I didn't catch his name, but
the affirmative action guy.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Half Choctaw, half African American.
Mm-hmm. I was just hoping he would use the phrase "up on Choctaw Ridge," but he did not.
Dr. Darrell Sue has written a lot on racism, including internalized racism.
Right.
So self-hatred. And what I'm concerned about for an individual like him is that it's like a goldfish who doesn't see the water he's swimming in. He has no sense, apparently, of all of the systemic reasons why he can't just simply expect, depending on his environment, that he's going to be allowed to compete on his own merits.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sadly, we didn't have much time. We ran out of time for him.
Yes,
that was too bad.
Oh, shucky darn.
Oh, speaking of racism,
what?
Ron in Concord says, Stephanie, you just referred to Jackie Schechner as a Jew newscaster. Okay, it was a joke.
I am Jewish.
About Al Jazeera. Right, but did I use the word instead of Jewish?
Oh.
A Jew newscaster.
Yeah,
it was a joke about that Al Jazeera was going to hire a lesbian or a Jewish person. Okay, I was joking.
Although they do employ Jewish people at Al Jazeera.
Do they?
I think so.
Huh? All right.
By the way, I just looked it up. Foley's family is in New Hampshire, so that's what she was talking about. Is James Foley? Pray for James Foley's family.
Oh, okay.
Jean Shaheen cry. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. 45 minutes after the hour, back with remaining moments with Jackie Schechner on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Dancing. 90s dancing. What are they?
Who got an email from their mommy saying that you're fabulous today? Look, mommy, no hands.
I know. I love my mom.
Your mom is awesome.
She is awesome.
And a lot of people emailing more Al Jazeera current.
Okay.
Tales, more. Oh, and you said like the time they flew you to New York.
Oh, yeah, the time they flew me to New York to have a meeting with 4 people and 1 showed. And there was actually one who was there in the office, just didn't come to the meeting. And then he proceeded to sit me down and say, "Not all that impressed with what I've seen you do." And I said, "Then why did you fly me here?"
Thanks for flying me here to tell me that.
Yeah, and we had a meeting. There was an HR person in the room.
This is Al Jazeera,
yeah,
right?
I know.
Yes.
And
We're
then
telling so many tales out of school.
Yeah, well.
oh, who cares? Really, I got stories. No, I mean, it was like, why did you bother to bring me here? If 4 people were supposed to show, 1 showed, you don't like what I do? Okay, well, that's great. And then I said, he said, "What are you doing now, going back to the hotel?" And I said, "No, I'm going to go do John Fugelsang's show." And he goes, "Of course you are." It was this weird, condescending.
Bitch, please.
Yeah. He said, "No matter what we do on Al Jazeera, the ratings will be better than current." It turns out they're not.
And as it turns out, a lot worse. Okay.
Yeah, they're worse, even though
they're free.
They're free.
We were like you to pay to get
Right.
To get the
Al Jazeera has an HD channel. Current didn't.
They have a whole worldwide network behind them.
Right.
We were essentially like a small
spit and glue.
Yeah,
You know,
right?
I have to say, Jackie, all things considered, I'm not that impressed with what they do so far.
Yeah, no, me either. But I have to say, like,
their product. I mean, I
wouldn't be a naysayer if my personal experience with them weren't so such of a turnoff. Let's say,
yes,
so off-putting.
More importantly, yes, top issues of the day. Let's see, from Patrick. We should settle this dispute like we settle all important disputes in this country by voting no. Mud wrestling. Jackie Hot Pants Schechner. May 411 Lee. To avoid charges of sexism, Chris can officiate in a Speedo. There's a fundraising idea if ever I heard.
Speaking of Speedos, hold on.
We keep telling May that, because she comes on Friday, we keep saying, Jackie Schechner came in saran wrap yesterday to try to, because we're having our own personal little whore off.
Right.
But no, Jackie was naked yesterday, I swear.
Does she believe you?
Yes, we keep tricking her.
Speaking of Speedo, the Travis did the ice bucket challenge.
He did.
Speedo.
Actually, in his underwear.
Was it his underwear?
That was underwear.
Well, he had his man bits strategically covered with his hands, but he's looking good. I mean, I have to say, if I had that working, I wouldn't wear a Speedo. But he's got but he did it.
No, that'd be good because then you could see your boobies.
And then he challenged you guys.
What?
I said no.
And you said no.
No.
He's irritated by the ice bucket challenge.
I am too, and I wanted to bring this up because I get it, and I think it's
the point is to get out of donating to a good cause.
That's the point. The origination of this was dump an ice bucket on your head or donate, and so those people who are opting to donate instead of dumping an ice bucket on their head are getting flack from people like, why aren't you doing it?
Exactly.
Like, well, the whole point was either dump or donate, and I chose to donate. And then I posted a video from ESPN of Pete Frates, the guy who kind of inspired this new movement, because the ice bucket thing isn't new, but this movement to raise for ALS is new. And I posted that video because I think it's more important that people understand why this picked up steam and who it is we're talking about and the disease that we're talking about and what it tragically does to people. I mean, the latest one I saw, I think it's like 30,000 people in the United States have it. It's small in comparison to the number of people who have it. So from a marketing perspective and a fundraising perspective, it's amazing. And I love that it's being done. And I'm more than happy to pass it around and say, let's all participate in raising money. I just don't think people should be shamed.
There's a shaming and bullying aspect of this that I really don't like.
It's
it
bothersome.
really rubs me the wrong way.
I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it because I think it's wasteful. I don't want to do it because I don't think people need to see me. I'm not narcissistic enough in that way that I need a video of me floating around.
I mean, if you're that narcissistic, just video yourself writing a check.
Yeah. So I donated, and that was it. And then I got a lot of flack for it. And it's like, I
saw George Bush did it, and they're challenging President Obama, and I'm like, is that still unpresidential? I don't really want to see someone dump a bucket of ice water on President Obama.
No, but just, send a check, right? Send some money and be done with it. And I get it. I get that the ice bucket thing is bringing awareness. And I think from a marketing perspective, it's great. But stop giving people a hard time if they choose not to do it and they're giving money instead, because that was the whole point.
Right. And some people don't like ice water. There is significant shrinkage. And also, not on Travis, because he obviously, Well,
he was covering and his hands didn't move, so I would imagine there wasn't any.
And we're also in a drought.
Yeah, I brought that up too. You can challenge people not in California, that's fine, but...
Now there's a challenge. We should challenge our friend Jason Alexander to it and see if there is, in fact, significant shrinkage.
Smart. Seinfeld reference? I like that. Call back.
Ashley in Madison, you're on the Stephanie Miller show. I assume not Ashley Madison.
I was thinking the same thing.
Not the dating service for married people. But anyway, hi Ashley.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I have another health insurance question for you.
Sure.
I have a genetic heart condition, and I had a lot of different treatments going on for my heart this year. I got the bills in the mail from the insurance company, and they covered zero because they said there was actually a rider on my policy that they won't cover anything related to my heart. Now, is that just a sneaky way to not cover a pre-existing condition, or what the heck is up with that?
Yeah, because now it's illegal for them not to cover you for a pre-existing condition. Is your policy predates the Affordable Care Act, or did you buy through Cover California? I mean, through the, not Cover California, but through healthcare.gov or the exchange in your state? Is this?
I got it last February. February of 2013 is when it started.
That's really interesting. I would take a look at the fine print because it's not legal for them to deny you based on a pre-existing condition. It's just not. I mean, the Affordable Care Act makes it. It's not even a policy that you just purchase. Any policy at this point, you're not allowed to be denied coverage for a pre-existing condition. So I would check on the legality of that rider.
That's what I suspected. So what do I do? Do I take that to an attorney? I mean, what the heck? Like, what steps?
I would take it to an attorney and see if there's, I don't know, I'd have to look at it and see for myself, but it's illegal for them to deny you coverage. And if you have a pre-existing condition and they're trying to get out of covering anything related to that pre-existing condition, that's what the law was designed to stop, that specifically. They can't cover around your pre-existing condition. That's just not legal anymore.
Okay. Hey, now you know that everything old is new again? Guess what might be back? Government shutdown.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell.
That was so popular the last time,
right?
Yeah.
Remember Mitch McConnell said at the time, one of my favorite sayings is, there's no education in the second kick of a mule. He said, we're not going to do the, first kick of the mule was in 1995. The second one was the last 16 days when they shut the government down. He said that government shutdown's off the table. We're not going to do it. So now he's implying that they're going to do it again. 10 months later, the notion the government could be pushed toward a shutdown, something McConnell is leaning into rather than running away from. And remember, the Affordable Care Act remained intact? Yeah. Backfired on them?
Yep.
He said that if Republicans take control of the Senate after the election, he would attach policy riders to spending bills that would either encumber or fully restrict the president's bureaucratic leeway. Asked about the potential his approach could spark another shutdown, he said that would be up to the president to decide whether to veto spending bills that would keep the government open.
I'm exhausted by this.
Me too.
Exhausted.
I'm like, really?
Like, just stop. All right. Please vote, people. Get out and vote. Vote in your midterms. Vote in your off-season elections. Vote locally. Just vote. We can get rid of these people if you turn out and vote. It takes no time. It's really easy. Make the effort. I mean, that's the only thing that I can push people to do is you may not have the money, you may not have the power. I saw something where they were complaining that that Democrats were going to Ferguson to register people to vote.
Yes.
I said, that's great. Do it.
Yes.
Register people to vote. If you're angry
the
and you're
GOP is furious about that.
Go vote. You have the right to do it. We've earned the right to do it in this country. Do it.
Do it. Jackie says do it. We love you, Jackie Scheckner.
I love you too. This was fun.
We love you, Jackie Scheckner's mom.
Hey, Mommy.
Okay. See you tomorrow on the Stephanie Miller Show.